Welcome back to a Developer's Guide to HCP Vault. Welcome. We are back for another week of learning about HCP Vault and what you should do with it as a developer. This series is for a developer who might be getting started with Vault, learning about it, trying to use it in their organization. If you're an operator who's tuning in, this might be useful for you, especially if you're trying to teach developers and enable them how to use Vault in your organization. It's not quite so simple as saying, like, here's a secrets manager, store your secrets in it. It turns out it's pretty complicated to try to encourage people to do dynamic secrets. It changes a lot of how a developer might think about their application. It also affects how some patterns you implement for resiliency. So, of course, all of that we covered previously. We do have a playlist. It's a very long link right now. I promise we will get a short link eventually. But if you do want to check it out, there is a playlist for the Developer's Guide to HCP Vault. So if you're an operator and you are tuning in, this might be a bit of a review, or you might feel like, hey, this is a little bit too straightforward for me. Most of this is geared toward a developer just understanding how to use Vault in an organization. And if you're a developer tuning in, there are some things that you might find that are not quite equivalent in your organization, right? So some things that we show here that you might not see because they're abstracted behind some other portal somewhere, they have an API call, and you don't maybe need to care about it as much. But some of the patterns should hopefully apply to how you think about your applications being affected by something like dynamic secrets. Here with me is Michael. We are We are going to go through Secrets Sync today. If you missed the last one, Michael, what did we do in the last one? I don't even remember.
Yeah, what did we do? It's Monday morning. I'm still
Was it injection? I think
we
did. Yeah. Reload, right?
Injection, yes. Yeah, we did the app. Yeah, how does your application actually get the secrets? So I think last episode we went through, so what? We stored our credentials in Vault. That's great. They're nice and secure, maybe too secure if no application can actually use the secret. So last stream, we talked about how do applications actually pull those secrets. And I think we went through kind of native integrations with Java Spring Boot. That way your application's kind of doing the authentication to Vault itself, also pulling its own secrets, and then keeping track of those life cycles as well. And then we talked about the Vault agent and Vault proxy approach as well. And I think we just kind of focused in on static secrets because I think maybe later in the series we might kind of talk more about dynamic secrets. But so that was last stream. What are we doing this stream?
Well, we are going to talk about synchronizing secrets, which sounds kind of strange. We're like, we already talked about injecting secrets. We took a secret from Vault and we put it in our application. What more do we need to talk about? Well, it turns out there are applications and situations and use cases in which you may not be able to inject those secrets, right? You might not be able to run a separate process like Vault Agent. You might not be able to make an API call to Vault and get the secret. And in those situations, there is an option to use called Secret Sync. Now, I know there are other reasons or maybe other use cases as to why you would use Secret Sync, and we'll maybe talk about them today. But today we are going to specifically talk about putting a secret in Vault and synchronizing it to some kind of target service. This could be AWS Secrets Manager. This could be any other secrets manager on a cloud service provider. This could be GitHub Actions. So we're going to probably show AWS Secrets Manager and GitHub Actions today. Now, if you have questions, follow-ups, concerns, you're wondering what is this, let us know in the chat. We do want to hear from you, but as you do, please keep in mind that you should be welcoming, respectful, and professional. We do want to hear your comments and questions, and we may not be able to see them immediately. Some platforms don't come in immediately. So just because we don't address them live doesn't mean we aren't answering it necessarily. It might just be we don't see it. So keep that in mind. Anyway, Secret Sync. Michael, why would anybody want to do Secret Sync? I think there's a big question of like, I could just go to my application, retrieve the secret, and be done, right? From Vault, but why would I bother with Secret Sync in the first place?
Yeah, in my mind, I think there's, I know of at least two kind of common scenarios that I've seen a lot. I'm sure that there's a lot of other different scenarios. But the first one I think you mentioned is maybe your application or whatever service you're using on a cloud provider or in a GitHub action or something can't necessarily integrate with Vault super well. I think there's some AWS services kind of like native AWS services that can only pull from Secrets Manager. So if Vault is your kind of company approved centralized secrets management solution, but you're trying to use some AWS service that can only pull from Secrets Manager, then you can use something like Secret Sync to then synchronize the secrets from your Vault, or in this case, HCP Vault, to AWS Secrets Manager, and then to that kind of native service itself. And that allows you to, again, manage all your secrets in that centralized place while still letting your applications or workloads use the secrets. And then I think the other one could just be like a speed or efficiency. So if you have a company mandate to, hey, we have to migrate to a centralized secrets management solution, and maybe the fastest path there, maybe not the best path. Best path might be going back and kind of refitting your applications or reworking your applications to integrate with Vault using those things we mentioned last stream, like native integrations or Vault Agent. But if kind of speed is of the essence, you can also use Secret Sync if your applications are already pulling from, if you have a GitHub action that's already pulling from GitHub or secrets stored in GitHub, then kind of doing the Secret Sync is really, really fast to get up and running with that centralized. And then maybe you can then prioritize going back and reworking those in a more native way.
Yeah, I think there's something like, if you're a developer who's tuning in, you're kind of like, what does this even mean for me? There's something like Amazon ECS, where it's not so easy for you to write a separate container, a sidecar container, to go and retrieve the secret from Vault, right? So in the case of Amazon ECS, you would mount your secret into the application using environment variables that you can source from Secrets Manager. And in which case, right, it's not holistically, like if you have an organization who has a lot of different runtimes across many different platforms and many different cloud service providers, then it wouldn't necessarily be worth the interest of investing in significantly into writing a Vault agent that runs on ECS. Instead, it might just be easier to set up selectively a secret sync so that I could go from Vault to Secrets Manager and just preserve the way that the application is retrieving those secrets from Secrets Manager, right?
Yeah, and I think it gives, I think it gives developers a good kind of centralized, management plane for their secrets. So if you have, applications or workloads in CI/CD pipelines and AWS, you can store them all in Vault, and then using something like Secret Sync for those applications that might not be Vault Agent or native integrations, you can still put them in Vault for that centralized management, audit plane, et cetera, but then use them downstream in your applications.
Yeah. So we are just going to get started. I think it might be easier to show exactly what we're talking about. We are using HCP Vault, and HCP Vault is the cloud managed version of Vault. So you get a Vault set of Vault servers. They are updated and they are automatically upgraded by HashiCorp. And then you can connect to it appropriately. So you can do this over private networking. You could do this over public network as well. And as a preface, my connection appears to be slightly unstable. So if I drop out, Michael, you might need to hop in. But the idea is that there are different tiers. And if you want Secret Sync requires the plus tier. So just keep that in mind. There's an updated list of all the tiers as well as the various features online in the HCP Vault sign up and catalog. So if you do want Secret Sync, it is under plus. So if you click on Secret Sync, this is the Vault UI. I am logged in as an administrator. Keep in mind that you do have to have administrative access to get to enable Secret Sync. I think this is probably worth making sure we're clear on this, Michael. Like, who should have responsibility to set up synchronization in the first place, right? Is this a development team? Is this a development team that should request from a Vault administrator? Like, what is the better protocol for doing this?
Yeah, I think at least in my opinion and what I've seen is that usually there's a team that kind of manages Vault for the organization, whether that's a Vault platform team or some sort of administration team. And they kind of set the best practices for their specific organization. And so if you're a developer in an organization and you're seeing this, you're watching this stream and you're like, hey, these Secret Sync seems really cool, I would go first I would go talk to your Vault teams and Vault platform teams, talk to them, kind of tell them your needs and use cases. And then I think in the scenarios that I've seen work the best, they kind of set that up with kind of working with the developers and their specific use cases there. So if you're a developer, you might not necessarily be doing this part yourself. That will come later when we look into the actual usage of the secret. But would you agree with that, Rosemary?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think that if secret sync is one of those situations where it should be an exception. It shouldn't be the default configuration. Keeping in mind that secret sync is Vault, right? Potentially connecting into a different target network. It could be a cloud service provider. It could be one network right within AWS. But the reality is you still incur a charge, right? Connecting from an outbound service into your cloud service provider. So that's something to keep in mind. I wouldn't say that you should allow everyone to be doing secret synchronization. It should be more selective. So you should probably leave it to your Vault administrator's discretion to determine whether or not your application use case requires secret sync. So if you're, for example, using like a CI framework and you're using a number of you're using a number of secrets that are going to be centralized in Vault. Maybe that there are certain exceptions by which you cannot refactor this pipeline or certain pipelines to go directly to Vault. And so those are the only ones that you would secret sync, right? So you do have to be more selective. I think putting it in the hands of a Vault administrator to control and to selectively choose what those sync targets are make a little bit more sense, so that you don't have a bunch of sprawl and a bunch of secrets overriding each other. Because I will tell you something very important, and I have to emphasize, because I think people sometimes don't really, they ask the question, but it's not fully clear as an answer. It is unidirectional, right? So this is Vault declaratively pushing a secret out to a target service somewhere or target endpoint, and it will override any secret that you have at that target endpoint. So if you change the secret in, let's say, AWS Secrets Manager or GitHub Actions or GitHub, you will not, you can't preserve that secret. It's all versioned and controlled by Vault, so Vault will override it. So that's an important thing to know. We're going to create our first destination then. So this is going to be something that probably your administrator will do for you, or have some kind of pipeline for you to set up. I'm going to select Secrets Manager today because that's probably one of the more common use cases that we get. And let's see what else we have. Okay, I'm going to pull some credentials so that no one can see them. We're going to name this the getting into HCP Vault account, AWS account. And the region, we'll do US East 1 out of simplicity. There's a role that you can specify. There is also an external ID if you would like, but we still have to connect by access ID and secret access key. These are something that I think you will have to rotate manually. This is not currently something that I believe you can rotate automatically in Vault itself right now. So for at least secret sync, like Vault itself will set this up and rotate it by the AWS Secrets engine. But for secret syncing, this is something that you will have to manually manage, as I recall. So I'm going to copy the credentials and hopefully not show them on screen.
Yeah, hopefully. We like to keep these secret. Just don't click that little, eye.
Yeah, don't click the eye. Fortunately, it masks it, so we're not going to do that. Okay, so there's a secret sync granularity. So we are going to configure this because this is quite important. It means there's a granularity you can choose for the secrets. It only synchronizes key values. It doesn't synchronize like secrets engine, other secrets engines, database secrets engine, things like that. We only talked about key value in this series so far. So basically a key and a value. That's it. And so you have the ability to specify a granularity. You can say everything in that secret. So if I think we have a couple secrets already, like if we have processor dev and then we have a username password stored in there, it will synchronize both username and password into AWS Secrets Manager for us. Otherwise, you can specify secret key, which means each key value pair will be a distinct entry. So you would maybe do this if somehow you decided to synchronize everything under an application like process or dev, and it's not just username and password, it's an API token for something else. And I don't know, name another credential, a certificate, right? Like a certificate you copy pasted into key value. And all of those, if you want them as distinct secret data, then you would have them as distinct keys and values or distinct secrets within AWS Secrets Manager. Which one's better? Which one is worse? It will all depend on how your application is configured and how it plans to consume the secret. So we'll just do an entire secret path because we'll just do this as a single entry, assuming that our application is going to consume one secret and it knows exactly which entry and value it's looking for. And we're going to not talk about template right now. We will fix the template later, but it's easier to show exactly what happens. If you don't fill out this template, you get a templated, I guess, secret name. That is the vault, the mount accessor, which is an ID, and then the secret path. So it does have some descriptor for you to trace it back to Vault. So if you are synchronizing to AWS, you'll trace it back to Vault, the key value store, and the secret. But you might want to customize this if you don't really want to be exposing the accessor, the mount accessor IDs or anything to your application. Instead, you just want your application to preserve whatever, I don't know, whatever secret structure they already have. So I don't know. Do we want to add some custom tags? I guess we should add some custom tags because
just to see what it looks like on the other side.
Exactly. But it's important to add your tags, especially if you're using anything with cloud service providers, because otherwise no one's going to know what you're going to do. And also, I'm using a shared environment. So someone might be like, hey, why is this here? And then they'll be able to see the purposes for the stream. Okay, so we've got the secret sync set up, but it doesn't really do anything other than set up the sync path, right? It doesn't currently tell which secrets need to be synced. It's just staging the credentials in order to synchronize the credentials. So keep in mind these credentials that I did put in for AWS, the access key and the secret access key, they do have permissions to read write to Secrets Manager. They don't have more permissions than that. They just have permissions to read write to Secrets Manager. All right, so let's sync a secret. Fortunately, this has a lovely autofill in the UI, so I can
we don't have to remember. Yeah, we don't have to remember what we did last.
Yeah, exactly. You can. Fun fact: you can go in the UI and you can put a command in through the UI, as CLI. So the Vault equivalent, I think it's sync. I think that's the equivalent. But you do have the CLI capability to configure sync if you wanted to. We're doing it through UI for the sake of example, but you do have the CLI and the API. Both are options for you to configure sync if you wanted to.
Right. All right. So if you were doing some automation, then you could do like the CLI or API, right? If a platform operator was abstracting this in some way, you would probably do it through like the CLI or API.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, sync. Quinn said secret does not exist. Did my secrets engine go? No, I see it. Dev exists. Oh, it was deleted. Okay, we're going to create a new secret. There's no secret.
Oh, deleted. Interesting.
I don't know why it's been deleted. I think I set a delete after date on this one.
Oh, yes, we must have done that. Which is also cool. That's handy as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, it means that we have no secret to sync. Okay, let me just do that. We're going to have a super secret. And then
username and password. Hey, we're testing the edge cases. So
yeah, exactly.
We were testing to make sure that the error message was actually correct.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, note to selves, we should probably get a better error message on this one. Okay, so there we go. Sync successfully initiated, and you can continue to add more secrets if you really wanted to, right? So I could do, let's see, we'll do processor QA. I'll add a new one. We can say API token. Okay. We'll just pretend there's an API token. And then I can always synchronize that too. So we can see the difference. Let me pull that up. So you can also do other paths, right? It's not limited to just the ones that we set up here, but we have you can only synchronize KV engine mounts. You can't synchronize anything else. Okay, so we synchronize them. That's great. It's pretty convenient. Let's see if we can view them. Yeah, I know, right? Like it was strangely too easy. I'm kind of, yeah. Anyway, other than the error message, which we do have to bring back.
Yeah, but I think that's good to show on the stream. So if you run into that problem, definitely check on your static secrets.
Yeah, you run into that. If you run into that, it may be that you have no secrets in that secret. So just keep in mind, no secret version. So there is a secret name, right? You'll notice that it followed the approximate path of what the key value mount was following. So it was Vault. This is telling you it's Vault. It's from this mount accessor ID, processor dev. So if I click dev, you should find 2 secret values. I should be able to retrieve. Now you get to see it. Not that they lead anywhere.
Exposing my username and password.
Yeah, exposing your username and password. And so they are synchronized in a way that you can now consume it based on this path in AWS Secrets Manager. Similarly with QA, right? We have this other, let's see. We have this other, let me click this. We are going to, oh, of course, everything decides to update at the same time. There we go. All right. So you'll notice that it's retrieve the secret value. There's an API token, right? Again, big problem that you have to keep in mind with secret sync that you may just need to be very aware of. If someone goes in and they change the secret, edit. No, I can't edit description. Where's the edit the secret? Oh, edit. Here we go. If I edit this API token, new API token, this will eventually get overwritten by Vault. So it does not stick around. It's not bidirectional. Vault will override this new API token with the previous value after a certain period of time. And so one thing, I think it depends on, you can set some refresh. Let's see. The refresh, the last updated view synced secrets. So we'll tell you when it was last updated. And so probably won't sync for another 5 minutes or so. But if someone does decide to sync it again, and they, let's say QA, sync now, and they do synchronize it, it will be overwritten. So you will not have new API token anymore. You will return back to ABCDEF128.
Right. Because we're using Vault as the centralized password or secret store in this case.
Yeah. It's a source of truth. So it will serve as the source of truth. It will declaratively override anything else you have. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing that we talked about briefly was the formatting of the template, right? Because, oh, hold on. Let me go back here. We can edit destination. No, I can't edit the destination. Oh, I can. Okay. So the format is vault/mount accessor/secret path. You may decide you don't like this, and you may decide you don't want the mount accessor. Now, assuming you have all your secrets in different names and things like that, you could delete the mount accessor and just make it easy and say that's my secret, right? So you could save, you can redo the secret template name. So it's just going to be vault/the secret path. And if I resync the secrets, hopefully sync now. I don't know if this actually works. So chaos. We'll see if this does work. Or if it just continues to.
Oh, it looked updated. Yeah. Look at that.
There you go. It updated. It took the mount path out. So it's just Vault processor QA, Vault processor dev. There are a lot of other things that you can template into the path. So you could say it's a namespace. You can say many other things. You can say Vault instance if you wanted to. But if you didn't want certain pieces of information, you wanted an application to be able to pull from this secret properly without necessarily caring what was the accessor ID or anything, and they just want you have a specific secret name you wanted to preserve, then the secret name, you can synchronize in a way that makes more sense for you. But is there anything else we can give a try? Just introduce chaos into this? I mean,
I know. So I know we talked about the granularity there. So if you go back to AWS, if you go back to the secrets manager, and then whichever secret had like I think my username and password in there. I think
that's right.
dev.
This one, dev.
So we can see that this one is under one singular AWS secret, right? It was the Vault KV processor dev, and then within that there is two passwords essentially. We have our username secret and our password secret. As Rosemary mentioned, that was that granularity setting back in when we were setting up the sync there. So that is the full secret path. We can also change that to secret key. And I think it really depends on what system you're trying to kind of sync to. So, AWS can handle multiple keys within one secret's path. But maybe something like GitHub that kind of maybe follows a, key value, specific key value, you might want to do the secret key. So if you're syncing to GitHub, then username would be its own secret, and then password would be its own secret.
Yeah. Let's see if this works. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see if it updates.
I think I did the right template, but I also don't know if I did.
Oh, yeah. Look, there. Yeah. So before they were in one singular secret, Vault KV processor dev, and then it had username and password. But now, since we changed the granularity, we can now they're put into two different AWS secrets, which grants us the ability. Now we can write some AWS secret IAM policies that maybe grant wider permissions on the username, but more stricter permissions on the password.
Yeah. And the other thing worth noting is that, again, you can, if you want to synchronize specific secrets or specific fields for one application and it's shared for another, you can be more selective, right? So this allows you to be more selective to say, oh, I'm only going to synchronize this secret with username and password across these two applications or these two destinations. If you have applications in different AWS accounts for some reason. So there are ways that you can subdivide this further if you really need to. It is convenient though, because you can now subdivide exactly which one you need. I do wonder, can I actually select the path to the secret and just the field? No, it'll synchronize all fields. So you aren't able to select which attributes or which fields you do want to synchronize within a secret. You have to just synchronize all the secrets, and then it will subdivide them on the target and not necessarily on the vault end. Well, that's nice that tells you secret key, password, secret key, username. That's convenient. Okay. That is for AWS. Is there any other chaos that I feel like we could introduce into it? I'm not really sure. I don't think so.
I don't know. I think that's all the chaos. We kind of like changed all the settings on the fly, and it looked like Vault in its secret sync was able to edit everything for us.
Yeah, exactly. And nicely, nice to know there are tags that propagate. So the tags we did set before did propagate here, and it also has a HashiCorp Vault tag, which automatically gets picked up by the, by Secrets Manager. So
so they AWS puts a nice little banner in there for us, right? That says, hey, this secret is managed in Vault, so you definitely should not be manually changing it in AWS Secrets Manager. So we get that nice little banner within the AWS UI.
Yeah, I'm attaching the docs so that folks can also check that out. If you do have questions on it, there's a little bit more information on how it works, as well as what per target information. And so that this is just for AWS, but we are going to do GitHub, which is pretty much the same for the most part.
So it seems like the kind of process is you set up a destination, whether that's Azure, AWS, or GitHub. You give it some sort of credential or credentials, and then once it's set up, then we do it. What secrets do we want to sync over? And I think I'm excited to see what it looks like in the GitHub platform. I think doing, because I don't know if GitHub supports, nested secrets. So we might have to do the by key or by value instead of moving all of the secrets over under one field.
Yeah. And the other thing to know, I'm going to go into developer settings. When you set up the ISEC, I recommend you set up a fine grain token, because GitHub, I should have done this beforehand. It's fine. GitHub It has the ability for you to do the personal access tokens, but they do have fine-grained tokens in preview. That I would suggest setting up a fine-grained token if you're doing secret sync to just allow repository access to the target repository you want to synchronize secrets to. If you have a larger organization and you want to give all access to all repositories, you can set that up. But you do want to make sure that you are careful about which repositories are allowed sync. So I have the bare minimum you do need is the repository access. So here I'm synchronizing, and then to read, write, to access to secrets. So those are the minimum permissions you need in order for this token to work.
Least privilege.
Least privilege. I know.
We love least. Yeah, we love
about this.
Yeah. As long as we're not giving everything, as long as we're not giving everything, admin access to all repos, all organizations.
Yeah, I mean, I don't wing everything. Like some things I did test out because I was like, I should probably just check permissions to make sure that like I'm not like granting like a million permissions everywhere. We can, let's do secret key and see what happens.
Yeah, we'll try secret key. So that again should put the secret values in separate GitHub secrets. But I'd also be curious to see what it looks like if we just do secret path. I'm assuming it's just going to store it as maybe a JSON string.
Look at that. See, it says like vault. So the secrets with GitHub Actions and secrets, they're typically injected as environment variables into GitHub Actions workflows. So that's the other thing to note. It's all capitalized, over here. So
because they're like environment variable, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So let's sync some secrets. Let's do our happy processor dev and sync to a destination.
And they should exist now since we added them back. So no, we shouldn't get any error messages.
We should not. I hope not. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see secrets and variables. Let's just check. Okay, so here we are. So there is a KV dev and KV username, KV dev username. And I guess you could change it, but again, it would be overwritten again.
Right.
So can't do anything.
And so that was that's the granularity setting. I think we set the key value or key secret or something, whatever the setting was there.
So if we go back and we go to the destination and we edit it, and if I switch it back to a secret path, for example, and we resync the secrets, sync now. Let's see if this breaks anything, because why not? Oh, see, there we go. It does not work that way. Let's refresh that because I changed everything. So it's synced now. And then let's refresh this. Now you have Vault KV processor dev, which it doesn't, I guess it won't show me because it's write only.
You probably have to, have some GitHub action that then echoes out the secret, which definitely shouldn't be doing. But I would have to imagine that since, Vault stores multiple items, we have a username and a password, that is probably stored as a JSON string in this environment variable. So if your application is able to parse that, then this would work for you. If not, then you can change that granularity setting.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's one thing to know about this as you synchronize between the two. You will have to map them into whatever workflow action, whatever actions you have, whatever workflow you have, and then keep track of that. So there is a contract between Vault synchronizing to the target and then the way the target represents the information for the secret. So keep that in mind. But that was pretty much all that was really required. So once you continue setting up sync destinations, you can continue managing them. And you can either force sync them if you need to. If let's say you rotate something in key value, and then you want to force it to be rotated on the target endpoint or the target service, or they do get regularly. I think they get regularly scheduled every day or something to synchronize.
I'd have to take a look at when the syncing process is, because that's something that I've done in the past is, I put something in AWS and then I might manually change it and then Vault ends up overwriting it. So there is some sort of refresh period that Vault will then re-push credentials.
We do have a question, and it's like, what's the use of having both Vault and AWS? Is it better to have the source of truth in one place in Vault and then use from AWS? I think it's dependent on your organization's use cases, right? Sometimes there are a lot of organizations will just commit to AWS Secrets Manager or a specific secrets manager within a cloud service provider, and that's adequate for storing and auditing and managing their secrets. But we have a number of folks who are doing secrets across many different targets, right? It could be on-prem, it could be with SaaS solutions, it could be with cloud service providers, across many different cloud service providers, and from an audit and compliance standpoint, the requirement is to be able to audit the usage of secrets across all of those estates in a consistent way. And it's very hard to do it if you're trying to aggregate a bunch of audit logs from different target endpoints. So if you have a SaaS solution that is auditing their secret usage in a different way, if you have a pipeline that that is retrieving credentials, you might have different CI frameworks. I know that there was a group of folks that I worked with in the community who had like 5 or 6 different CI frameworks, and they were all getting secrets from different places. So for better or for worse, they had no way of understanding which secrets were shared across each CI framework. And more troubling was that when something did get compromised, they had no idea where they had to rotate anything, right? So aggregating all of this in one place in a central location is sort of a choice of whether or not you want to do it in a cloud service provider or you want to do it through Vault. The benefit of Vault, we talked about key value and static secrets in this series, and it is able to allow you to aggregate and organize all of those in one place. But Vault also offers secrets engines, which are dynamic secrets. So it will vend credentials for you. So if you are looking for, if you're in a CI framework and you only need credentials for a certain lifetime, like let's say 30 minutes, Vault can automatically generate those credentials on your behalf, give it to you for 30 minutes. And then after those 30 minutes, those credentials are expired. They're no longer usable. And so that's sort of the secondary benefit of using Vault. The first is aggregating it in one place and centralizing it so that you can audit. The second is to be able to issue ephemeral credentials so that the life cycle of those secrets are limited for time-limited use cases. Did I miss anything, Michael?
No, and I just want to add on that I think it's, Vault has all of these great capabilities. And I think a lot of them, they might not necessarily be for everyone, which I think is great because Vault helps meet you where you're at, right? So if you're in this one specific area and you need secrets in a third-party solution like AWS Secrets Manager or GitHub, you can use Secret Sync. But if you might be beyond that, and then that's where something like the native integrations that we talked about, or Vault Agent, Vault Proxy, or if you're on Kubernetes, Vault Secrets Operator or Vault Agent Injector. So we have a lot of different ways to integrate secrets within Vault into your applications and workflows. And so it's kind of really up to you to choose which one makes the most sense. And again, I think that's great that Vault has all of these different capabilities. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to use all of them, but just the ones that make the most sense for your organization.
No, I think that we are done early.
Yeah.
We chose Secret Sync. But that's sort of like the next set of things that we're planning to show for the next part of the series is dynamic credentials and probably transit secrets engine, just to show that there are other capabilities. So if you have an application that needs a certificate, or you need an application that needs a database credential, and again, time limited, only needs it for 30 days, but should rotate it every 30 days. Or if you have you've got payloads that you want to encrypt, we're going to briefly go through some of those use cases. And that will be more for dynamic credentials. That's not as much for static credentials and key value, which does change pretty significantly how your application behaves. But a lot of the patterns that we showed for how static secrets get rotated and then your application picks up that event will pretty much stay the same. It's not like your application is going to change when that dynamic secret comes in. It just needs the detection that the dynamic secret is expiring, and then you're going to reload the application based on that. So there are many patterns that we've already explored and still apply to sort of the next set of kinds of secrets. But again, we wanted to show Secret Sync partly because if you don't have many other options, you can't refactor your application, you're on a runtime that you don't really have any ability to integrate with Vault directly, you have an option to synchronize to certain targets that some runtime might already integrate with. Anything else you want to add, Michael?
No, I think again, Secret Sync, it's, we've been talking for almost 40 minutes now. And so I think it's pretty, I don't want to say self-explanatory, but just like, there's not a lot to it, right? You just set up the configuration, and then you set up what secret you want to sync, and then Vault does the rest. So it's
exactly.
I'm not surprised that we're done early. But
yeah, I guess we could delete the secret, but I mean, it just, once you delete the destination, it will delete the secret at the destination. So it doesn't. If you decide to delete the destination from Secret Sync, which, here I'll show you, but I guess that's the last bit. If you decide to delete it, it will delete the secret from the destination. So you won't no longer see it in repository secrets. You won't see it either in Secrets Manager, for example. So just letting, for those who are curious, if you do want to clean up after yourself and eventually you refactor so that you don't use Secret Sync anymore, you will delete it, right? And you will delete that secret. All right. So anyway, for folks who are tuning in, thank you for joining us. We hope you join us on the replay or next week. We are going to be talking about dynamic secrets and transit secrets engine. I think that we'll probably try to do both at the same time. We're a little bit ambitious. But again, if you missed any of the other episodes, you want to go back and learn a little bit more, we do have a playlist available, and we'll be getting a short link up. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.